Hello, can you see me? Can you hear me? Can you feel me? Are you out there? It is 10:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I just want to make sure everything's working right. Considering what happened Thursday, you begin to understand why I'm going through this. And with that, we say hi, hello, how are you? And how are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and welcome to Front Porch Brunch, that wonderful little thing we do on the weekends where we get together, we talk about the news, we give our views, and we try and make sense out of this crazy thing that we call life. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. I am dressed for the season. Thank you, sir. I tell you, I'm shocked. I am shocked, I say. It is good to see you too, sir. Good to see you. We are here. I am sometimes called the beau in the chapeau. On occasion, I'm called the common man with common sense. But in this moment, as always, above all else, I am your host. We are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So please do me some favors. As always, I would really do appreciate it. Number one, if you're not subscribed to this channel, please do so. Number two, while you're at it, please hit like and hit the thumbs up and leave a comment in chat, share the link around with your friends, all that good stuff. So there you go. There you go indeed. Oh, goodness me. Yeah, we had a crap pile of technical problem Thursday night, and it led to the cancellation of what would have been an otherwise wonderful live stream I have set up. However, we're going to try and make up for it in earnest today. We have a slew, and I mean a slew of memes set up for everybody. So we have, I'm not kidding. We got all kinds of stuff here. All kinds of stuff. Goodness me. Yeah, let's see who's in the house so far this morning. Adam, you might be here a little bit too early, but that's okay. We'll figure out a way to get you in. Good morning, my dear. Mwah. Glad to see Miss Gypsy's in the house. Let's see who else might be here. TBA I know is here. Let's see. Now wait a minute. What is this? $25 he will be on. $50 he will still be pissed off at. No, I am not PO'd. I mean, look, it is what it is. Just sometimes in life, stuff happens. Don't know what to tell you. Well, no, I don't think my problems were necessarily Rumble related. I think my problems were just me related, being a dipstick. So, when it comes to understanding tech. Good morning, Z Highness. Mwah, you gorgeous thing, you. Let's see. Mr. Scott Awesome is in the house. Glad to have you here, sir. Yes, my Christmas colors. I break these out at a couple times of the year. So yes, we are doing well. We are alive and well. So glad to have everybody here this morning. Hope you guys are having fun. I know I am. I am not kidding when I say I have got a slew of memes set up for you. I'll just give you a quick idea here, okay? Without showing you where we're going. That you see that string right across through there? That's either memes or stories or both. I don't know which. And well, I do know which, but I'm just saying that's a whole string of tabs with something related to it. We have got a ton of stuff this morning to get into. So let's just dive right in. Oh, goodness. On March 17th, he'll have a green filter on, or he'll be sick to his stomach and have no need of the filter. I'm not filtering anything, fellas. Really, I'm not. Hey. No, that was not me on the beach, though I wouldn't mind going to the beach right now. I've had it. I don't know about you guys. I've had enough of cold weather. I'm done. I've had it. Okay. I have absolutely had it with cold weather. You're red in the face. Well, I'm not trying to be. All right, hang on. First, let's see. Visual effects. All right, well, let's cut this back a little bit, see if that helps. There's not a whole lot I can do with Streamlab as far as like, filtering or content or stuff like that, So we'll see what we have here. Not have a green screen, so I don't have to worry about that. Camera, do we have any? I'm in high definition, so we got that. Okay, that's about as good as it's going to get, folks. Maybe when the sunlight, goes over the house a little bit, it'll be a little bit better. So, no, we are not shutting off the broadcast now. Keep calm, people. Keep calm, I say. Oy vey, I tell you what, you guys are just... A guy gets his program working correctly. He gets back on here and what? Oh, your face is red. It's like, jeez, guys, give me a break. Anyway, love y'all much. Love y'all much. I am not monkeying with the buttons. I am not monkeying with the buttons, nor am I orangutanging with them. So there you go. Jeez. Anyway. All right, let's just dive right in because, like I said, we got a slew of stuff to go through, and I'm glad to be here with you guys this morning. Like I said, if you have happened upon this live stream, this is Front Porch Brunch. My name is Brian Trippett. I am known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative, and let's just go right to it, to the merry memes. Now, if you've never been here before, the merry memes are those things that we find that help us laugh, but yet also teach us some very important lessons. For example, I think I have come up with another motto for my channel. Someone sent me something, and the more I think about this, the more I keep thinking to myself, you know what? Maybe this ought to be the unofficial motto of the Front Porch Conservative. And it goes something like this. If you don't have anything nice to say it anyway. People still need to hear the truth. You know what? I don't care what anybody says. This is so on the mark. So on the mark. I am telling you what, I absolutely believe it. Totally true. Totally true. Good morning, my dear. What a tip of the hat to you. Glad to have you in the house. Oh, goodness me. Yeah, if you don't have anything nice to say it anyway, because somebody needs to hear the truth. And whoever came up with this one, they ain't wrong. Oh, wait a minute. What do you mean your mother would be horrified with that advice? Now, what does she want you to do? Not tell her the truth? I mean, now, come on now. What is that? A wingnut cheer song. Now, that sounds interesting. I don't even know what kind of theme song you guys would come up with for yourself. I don't know. No, we are not adopting this one. We are not adopting this one. Absolutely not. Jeez. Hence the reason why I call you guys the Wingnuts. Anyway, moving right along. Oh, by the way, you've heard the expression drunk as a skunk. Okay. No, we're not using this one as a cheer song either. No, we are not using this one either. You guys got to come up with something better. Oy vey. Good morning, Miss Lana. Mwah. Good to have you here, darling. All right. Now, you've heard the expression drunk as a skunk, but have you ever seen a drunk raccoon? Well, ladies and gentlemen, get ready because this is a true story. This is a true story. I hope you guys enjoy this as much as I did. Let me know if the sound comes through okay. And with that, check this out.
It happened Saturday in Ashland, and according to social media posts by Hanover County Animal Protection and Shelter, a raccoon broke into the store the night of Black Friday and ransacked several shelves. They have masks, don't they? The animal became intoxicated, then passed out in the bathroom. A sleeping raccoon was discovered Saturday morning.
Head right near the toilet. We've all been there probably at some point in our lives, right?
A little too much.
An officer brought the masked bandit back to the county animal shelter to recover. So yes, that's a lot of liqueur for a little raccoon there. The raccoon slept it off for a few hours and showed no signs of injury. Bounced back. Officers released the raccoon back into the wild.
Okay. I have a 3-word response to this story. Okay. Who among us? I mean, look, I think the lady in the background was right. I mean, haven't we all been here at one time or another? I mean, just saying, I don't know. The poor rack. I agree with the poor little guy. He probably killed his liver. I mean, I don't know how much of that stuff he drank, but depending on how much, you're probably right. He's got cirrhosis or something. Which I've never heard of a raccoon getting cirrhosis before, but well, yeah. Ain't we all, my friend? Ain't we all? I'm just saying. Well, now, wait a minute. We don't know if that raccoon is a female or not. I mean, what are you saying here? I mean, good grief. Now, wait a minute. We don't know this either. I don't know what they put in that stuff. This stuff is at a liquor store and it's on the shelf. What do you say? They roofied the bottle before they whatevered? Oh, my gosh. Good Lord. Well, good morning, Salty. We're glad to have you here. Indeed, indeed, indeed. I mean, anyway, feel bad for the poor raccoon. That's all I'm saying. Now, and that kind of goes to something else. There's a lot of things you can say about the human race, and Lord knows most of it would all be true. But when it comes to people who own pets, they really are, mostly, they really do try to be conscientious. I mean, seriously. I mean, people who own pets do their dead level best. I mean, if you are a non-pet owner, okay, and you come upon someone who's like out walking their dog or whatever, okay, if you tell them you'd like for them to do something, more often than not, they try to do it. And I mean, if you really want a good example of that, I mean, consider the following. I mean, if your dog happens to poop, someone says, please pick it up. Well, hey, he picked up the dog. I mean, if ever there was a time and you wanted proof of how conscientious pet owners can be, here's a great example. I mean, the dog pooped. It was requested that somebody pick it up. He picked up the dog. What more can you ask for? So don't ever let anybody tell you that pet owners are anything but conscientious, because bless their heart, I mean, they know they share their world with their pet, but they also share the world with you too. So pet owners are just trying to find a way to get along with everybody out there. There you go. There you go. Well, yeah, that's a really good point. Poor guy probably would have broken his back if he tried to pick that dog up. Ugh. Oh, man. I had a friend of mine years ago. Her now ex-husband owned a Mastiff. And if you've never seen a Mastiff, I mean, Great Danes are big dogs anyway, but they can be a little bit thin. Mastiffs, at least to me, are a little bit thicker. This dog whacked me in the tail in a very sensitive area of the male personage and just about doubled me over. And he wasn't trying to hurt me. He just being a dog and his tail's flopping around. Whack! And I'm like, So, dogs, you gotta love them. Really, an Italian Mastiff, he topped out at 180 pounds. Holy cow. That is crazy. Quite crazy. Yeah, those instructions are just a little bit literal, I think. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. But yeah, never let it be said that pet owners are not conscientious folk. Well, I mean, they ought to. We give them their own toilet. I mean, Good grief. What are you going to do here, man? What are you going to do? All right. What else do we have in the way of the merry? We've got a slew of. Now, by the way, pet owners may be conscientious. Pets toward other pets, not so much so. Now, you might find that a little bit odd because you think to yourself, well, hey, if a dog ought to be kind to another dog, or a dog ought to be kind to a cat. Well, maybe not. But if you think I'm wrong, then you need to check out the following, because I tell you what, if you want proof that pets can be, how do I want to put this? That pets can be less than kind to each other, watch this. That dog's had it. That's trying to make up its mind. Look at that cat trying to grill the puppy.
Come here, guys.
Don't do it, y'all. Don't walk up there. Don't do it. Oh, look, he's trying to get rid of the chihuahua. Look at that. So there you go. Yeah. So if you wonder why your dogs and cats fight with each other the way they do, look at the following example and consider. I'm just saying. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, it is not easy being. Look, if you're a dog or a cat and you got another dog or cat in the house. Oh, you want that one? Oh, hang on. Did I hang on to it? I think I did. Hang on. Pretty sure I did. It was was it this? I think this was it. Let me just make sure of something here. Hold on. Yep. That was the one. That was the one. Okay. I'm being asked to drop this in chat. So one moment, please. And Shadoom. And Shadoom. Okay, there you go, folks. Oh, where were we? Yes. Now, Christmas season. As you can tell, I've got my Christmas attire on. And, even if it weren't the Christmas season, people always run into a particular problem, and that is, what do you get for someone as a gift? And it doesn't really matter the context. Is it a wedding gift? Is it a birthday gift? Or maybe even retirement? Like, let's say you've got a coworker that's been there for a long time, and, you're trying to figure out, what the heck do you get this person? Well, some people at IKEA came up with a really good idea for what to get one of their managers who's recently on his way to greener pastures, as it were. They decided to get him a cake. Now, that seems fairly reasonable. But, being that they work at IKEA, you begin to understand why it is that this gift might not be all that practical. Look, I understand. You work at a place, you want to try and reflect the values of the company, but look, sometimes you just got to draw the line. Just because you work at IKEA and you're buying your manager a cake, this is not the way you should go. Okay? Seriously, people. Yeah, some assembly required. Try a lot of assembly required. I just got through making deviled eggs for Thanksgiving. Believe me, it's not some assembly required. It's a lot of assembly required. Good Lord. So, yeah. Piece of advice, folks. If you're going to buy someone a gift for retirement and you don't want to get them something physical, but get them something to eat, please do not follow the example of the people who work at IKEA. They're taking their company's values just a little bit too far, I think. Go ahead and get the fully assembled cake. Good morning, Robert Lowry. Good to have you in the house, brother. Oh, my Lord. Yeah, this is just straight crazy. Yeah. Oh, that is so true, my friend. That is so true indeed. Oh, my goodness. Goodness me. Yeah. Crazy. Just crazy. Anyway. All right. What else do we have in the way of the merry memes this morning? Ah, yes. It is the Christmas season. We're trying to figure out ways to, spread cheer and spread joy. And the White House has come up with a really great idea. As a matter of fact, if you see Donald Trump running around in a Santa suit with a Virginia ham in his hand, just understand he's trying to make all Americans feel very good. However, I get the funny feeling there might be some communities in this country that aren't all that receptive to his idea. I mean, just saying, so yeah, don't look for this to be a big hit in places like Dearborn, Michigan. Anyway, let me grab myself some water here, some agua, as it were. Yeah, I don't think this one's going to go over very well. Now, that said, the holidays are very tough on people. Okay. Well, I know. Look, I'm not looking a gift ham in the mouth. I understand where he's going with this. Oh, this is so wrong. Jeez. Robert, you have been missed, my brother, but we're glad you're here for comments just like that one. Well, thank you, sir. I genuinely do appreciate that. Good morning, Kawan. We're glad to have you here. Now, look, the holidays are stressful on everybody, and we're all trying to find ways to get through this. Okay? And sometimes you just got to sing. So, with that in mind, I'd like for you to enjoy the following.
Just hear those sleigh bells jingling, a ting a ting a ling a too. Ring a ling a ling a ding dong. Come on, it's lovely.
Nothing like singing Jingle Bells this time. Oh my God. You are like, hang on. Jeez. Tell you what. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute, folks. Y'all are just like, okay. And okay. There you go, guys. Yeah, so there's nothing like singing Jingle Bells to help you get through. Well, I'll tell you what, you can thank WWG1 for a significant number of these memes. But yeah, I'll gladly share them around. That's no problem at all. Gladly share them around. Oh, goodness me. Now, there's a lot of things that stress you out at Christmas. Okay. And let's go back to our discussion for a moment of pets. I mean, look. Household pets are a wonderful thing. They do so many wonderful things for our lives. They help us feel better. They give us a sense of community, all that. But one of the things that's really, I won't say stressful about pets is the holiday season because, daggone it, pets will get into everything, particularly your Christmas tree. So that sort of begs the interesting question. How do you get around your pet not, doing damage to the holiday Christmas tree? Well, somebody came up with an idea, but I'm not sure how practical this is. I mean, look, the tree is still pretty. It looks nice, but I don't know the idea about putting up chicken wire and, 1x4 framing to surround your tree and make sure that cats cannot get to it. Or even the dogs for that matter. I'm not sure how practical an idea this is. I mean, don't get me wrong. This works. This will keep your family pet away from your Christmas tree and potentially causing you stress at Christmas. But I don't know. I just don't know how practical this is going to be. And then that gets to another question. Okay. That gets to another question. Okay. What are your kids going to do on Christmas morning? I mean, seriously, what are your kids going to do on Christmas morning? Well, now I do not know if this was taken at Zippy's house. I mean, I think Zippy is down here in the corner. Now, maybe these are two of his drinking buddies, but I do not know if this was taken at Zippy's house. But that is a distinct possibility. Well, good morning, Miss Pate. Mwah. Love you, darling. Glad to have you in the house this morning. Oh, he's the orange cat. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, good God. When did they let you come in here? You wonderful F slur. Oh my goodness. Brentley says, with that many cats, the owners don't. I hadn't thought about that, but you may be onto something, sir. You may be onto something. And good to see you. Long time no see, my friend. Glad to, and Merry Christmas to you. Hey, are you still up at Fire Island? Hey, if you don't want to answer that, that's cool. But I was just curious. Last account I had of you, you're up in New York area. So, and anyway, we raise a glass in your direction, Brentley. Merry Christmas, brother. Oh, goodness me. All right. What else have we got? Well, look, holiday shopping. Everybody's out and about, and no one's any different than anybody else. Doesn't matter if you're the president of the United States or, you're whoever you might be out in American society. Everybody's out shopping. And recently, a picture was taken of New York Mayor-elect Mamdani and his wife as they were out for the holidays. They were out on the town in New York City, I guess, doing some Christmas shopping. And going to a restaurant, and somebody snapped a picture of them, but I don't know. I really wish that they could have found a more favorable angle of the future First Lady of New York. This seems just seems a little too impersonal to me. I mean, really, here you have, a husband and wife engaged in a very personal, intimate thing, and then you're taking pictures of it. I don't know. Hey, you can blame Salty. You can blame Salty for this one. Okay. You just blame Salty for that last one. I said I'd put it up there. I was going to do it Thursday, but whatever. So yeah, you can blame that one on Salty, my friend. That's all I'm saying. Salty, you have no shame. You have no shame at all. That's all I'm telling you. Just oh man, the lady is laying it down. Woo! She's on fire this morning. Look out indeed. Well, you're probably right, dear. I'm just saying. Lord have mercy. Oh gosh. This audio, and again, hey, we were talking about it. We were talking about the other night that there are new gifts out on the market that you can get for kids. And again, there are children's books that are on the market, maybe a little more political than we thought. And here's another one that just hit the market recently. Franklin calls Walls a retard. Well, again, I'm a little bit worried here. I think some of these children's books may be just a little over the top, or maybe they're not quite age appropriate, but I don't know. But again, I don't know who the publisher of these books. I don't know who the publisher is trying to sell this stuff to. Maybe it's kids, maybe it's like older teenagers. I don't know. But anyway, here's another option for what you can get somebody as a Christmas gift. So, take that for what it's worth. Anyway, goodness me. Goodness me. Let's see. What else do we have here? I might save that one for later. I think I will. Matter of fact. Let's see. Got that. I think I'll save that one for later too. Okay. Hang on, folks. Trying to thin some stuff out here. There we are. I think that's better. Okay. All righty. Moving right along. You know, it's kind of funny. Donald Trump, ever since he got back into office, oh, wait a minute. Hang on a minute. Salty just dropped something. Let me see what this is. One moment, please. What? Wait a minute. Salty, is this true? Is this really true? The thing you just dropped from... Is this really true? Hang on. Apparently, really, it is. This is true. Okay, folks, the author of the Franklin the Turtle series has put out a statement. Now this is according to Salty. This is totally legit. Okay, so you've seen this too. Okay, the authors of the Franklin the Turtle series apparently are Canadians who are absolutely condemning these memes that are coming out. Here's their statement. Franklin the Turtle is a beloved Canadian icon who has inspired generations of children and stands for kindness, empathy, and inclusivity. We strongly condemn any denigrating, violent, or unauthorized use of Franklin's name or image, which directly contradicts these values. Oh my word. It is on, people. It is on. Now, to the publishers of Franklin the Turtle, I mean, look, I know what you're trying to do here, and I get it. You've created an intellectual property, and you're trying to protect that intellectual property, and more particularly, not just the intellectual property, you're trying to protect the goals behind creating it. Okay, I get it. I understand. However, you guys up there in the Great North have got to understand something. Telling a bunch of Americans what we can and cannot do with your intellectual property is not going to work out very well, because odds are this is going to create a Streisand effect. And we're just going to, I mean, not me, I don't make memes. I wish I were that smart. But you know what's going to happen, right? You're just guaranteed that your statement is going to cause more of these Franklin the Turtle memes to be created. I mean, yeah, I mean, TBA, you're absolutely right, my friend. No, no, man. Once it's on the web, look out. It's on. Yeah, that's probably a good way of putting it. Probably a totally good way of putting it. Oh my gosh. You ain't wrong, my friend. You're not wrong at all. Oh my gosh. That's just, yeah, really. Yeah, I mean, now hang on. Salty just dropped something else. What is this? Okay. To make Salty's point, oh, well, yeah, hang on. Let me enlarge this as big as I can make it. There we go. Apparently, Franklin and Pepe had a conversation, and it went something like this. They are friends, and can you say good morning to them? Yes, Franklin, you have been claimed by memers. So true. So true. Oh my goodness. Okay, the Canadians are not happy with us. The Canadians are not happy with us at all, apparently. Oh my goodness. Now, anyway, back to our regularly scheduled meme selection. Ever since Donald Trump got back in office, he's been trying to figure out a way. He's trying to figure out a way to get illegal immigrants deported. And some people claim they care and some people claim they don't. Well, if you want proof of how indifferent some people can be, Trump says, I want to deport 11 million illegals and 2 puppies. And the media is like, why the 2 puppies? And Trump's point, see, nobody cares about the illegals. See, even the press doesn't even care about the illegals. So why are we going through all this thing? I don't know, folks. I don't know at all. I just don't get it. What else is going on in the world? What else is going on? We've heard from Joe Biden. Apparently, he recently made a speech, and during that speech, he had a fairly interesting statement that he made. I'm not quite sure what to make of it. I'm not sure if he had one of those moments of senioritis or what context he meant this, but apparently he issued the following statement regarding the power of women. Again, I don't know quite what Joe was thinking here, but I don't think this is a good look for the former president. I don't think he's doing himself any favors here. I mean, just saying. All right, one last meme, and we're getting into our stories for the morning. Everything is a matter of perception. Seriously. Doesn't matter what time of the year you're talking about. Doesn't matter whatever. Everything is a matter of perception. And, for example, I'm just going to let this one sit up here and do its thing. So, there you go. There you go, my friends. Yep. Everything is a matter of perception. So, perceive wisely. That's all I got to say. Perceive wisely. All right. As always, much thanks to WWG1, to TBA, to Salty, to anybody who's contributed memes for the betterment of this show. And hey, right down here, my handle on Twitter. You can either tag me in a tweet, you can DM me directly, you can do whatever, but feel free to make some contributions. Now, as always, the host reserves the right to use or not use whatever is contributed, but more often than not, you put something in, I'll put it up on the screen. So if you find a story or you find a meme that you think is really good or funny and you want to share it with the group, hey, you can find me on Twitter at TheFrontPorchC1. Feel free to make said contribution. And with that, let us get into the stories of the morning that I want to talk about. And I'm sure you guys have got your take on them too. I really, for all the frustration that I had Thursday night with the fact that I could not work through my tech issues, well, thank you, sir. I tell you what, I got to break this hat and vest out more often, as opposed to saving it for, certain reserved times of the year. Thank you, sir. That's coming from you. That's a high compliment. Only man I know can make a leopard print blanket the absolute fashion necessity for all men across the North American continent. What can we say? And good morning to you, Sean. And good morning to you, you good-looking thing. How you doing, gorgeous? Glad to have you here. Now, wait a minute. He is not jealous of me. He's very secure. He is very secure in his fashion sense and manhood. He has no reason to be jealous of me just because I have a red hat and a red vest. Yeah, well, hey. What can I tell you? What can I tell you? Wait a minute. She's on your cat. Wait a minute. She's on your couch. What the heck is going on here? Anyway, On Thursday, a story broke that everybody is still talking about. And it started out simply enough. It went like this. Headline from justthenews.com. FBI makes arrest in planting of pipe bombs near DNC and RNC on January 6th Eve. Suspect is named. So yeah, the news broke that the FBI had made an arrest in a case that was over 4+ years old. They finally have a suspect in custody who, according to the FBI and the evidence that they've got, is the person who planted the pipe bombs at the Democrat and Republican national headquarters on January 5th, 2021, the day before the infamous January 6th incident. Now, this case is 4+ years old, and I've got a whole bunch of questions, but we'll get to those momentarily. Now, the FBI, understandably, and the Justice Department, understandably so, were feeling very celebratory, and they had a press conference. Now, we're not going to watch the whole thing, but we're going to put it up on screen. They have every right to crow, so check it out. Here you go.
Was arrested and charged with placing the pipe bombs at the RNC and the DNC on January 5th, 2021. He has been charged with violating 18 U.S.C. 844, which is use of an explosive device. This investigation is ongoing. As we speak, search warrants are being executed, and there could be more charges to come. I'm going to let our U.S. attorney discuss that shortly. This was the work of multiple agencies working together. This morning's operation was carried out safely and successfully. We know that there are so many issues when your dangerous things can happen, and this was carried out safely and securely thanks to all of the people standing around me. They have worked tirelessly on this. Today's arrest happened because the Trump administration has made this case a priority.
Okay, we're going to stop it right there. And like I say, you got to understand. I have no idea who that giant in the back was. No idea. Darling, he's always looking sus these days. Always looking sus. You got it. I mean, look, I get it. I totally get it. I mean, look,
of movement on this case.
Stop it.
In our
Pamela, hush. Now, for the FBI and for the DOJ, okay, take your victory lap. You think you got your guy. But that sort of begs the question, how did you get him? I mean, like I said, this case is over 4 years old. I don't know what the timeline is to qualify something as a cold case versus a not cold case or a hot case or whatever you call it. But this case is over 4 years old. How come all of a sudden you're able to crack this sucker? Enter John Solomon from justthenews.com, appearing on Steve Bannon's show War Room. He says the following, and check it out.
Mentioned, I think it was just before Thanksgiving on your show, I thought there would be an arrest this week. They were zeroing in on a gentleman whom they arrested this morning in Northern Virginia. And the way this case was cracked was about a month or 6 weeks ago. Bongino, who was the lead on it, and Patel decided to take the old agents off the case and put a new team on it. Now, there was a little resistance, as there always is in the FBI, to any form of change. But the new team came in. They applied some new ideas, some new technologies, and some of the evidence that was sitting right in front of them with fresh eyes was followed, and it was able to be led to this gentleman who they arrested a little bit ago. We don't know much about his ideology or his intentions or his motives yet. And one of the things that FBI officials stressed with me this morning is that this is really the beginning. The arrest is the beginning of trying to understand how this operation was conducted, who's behind it, whether there are more conspirators or whether this is a lone wolf. Still all of that to be determined, but a really extraordinary effort. Almost 5 years later.
Yeah, almost 5 years later. Almost 5 years later, they seem to find, or they think they found, who did it. Now, TBA, ever the skeptic, it's a psyop. You are supposed to see it as suspicious that it took the bomber. Yeah. I detect a certain amount of cynicism. Oh, my audience this morning, you guys are like, my goodness. Ooh, we have a cynical bunch in this crowd this morning. Oh, goodness me. Yeah. Put a new team of agents on it. Think they got their thing. And again, the FBI is taking the victory lap. You kind of understand why. Here's Dan Bongino on the day of the press conference. He gets an interesting question. Check it out.
General Bondi, Director Patel, or Deputy Director Bongino, can you describe, was there a particular moment where the evidence is coming in and it's starting to look like progress is being made? What was the moment that you knew that you were on the road to solving the case?
Dan, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. I was smiling at you because I certainly remember the moment. Darren remembers it too. He said, "Are you sitting down?" Called me on the phone. I said, "Oh boy, why? Is this bad news?" And he said, "I think we got him." What exactly that tip was, we're going to have to pass on that for right now while obviously we're in the prologue of a long book. This is just the beginning. This is not the end of the investigation, as you all well know, having reported on these for a long time. There's interviews to be conducted. The search warrant processing scene is not even done. So we're at the early stages. So that's the only reason I hesitate to tell you what the exact tip was. But yes, that was absolutely the moment. And it was due to the diligent and incredible work of a team in the Washington field office that came in and just scoured through this over and over and over and over again.
In general, was it forensic? Was it a phone call? Was it something about a vehicle?
We'll just leave it generally forensic evidence. Yeah, it's fair enough to say.
They thought they got a tip. They thought it was serious. Guys, I'm just like you. I am, and I'll explain why I'm a little. I will explain in a moment why I am cynical of this. Anyway, what do we know? What do we know about this guy? What do we know about the person they arrested? Now, the video that I'm about to show you is 7 minutes long. We're not going to play the whole thing. We'll play part of it. This is from Jesse Waters' show on Fox News. Okay, check it out.
Fox News alert. The January 6th pipe bomb suspect just made his first court appearance. Sources tell Fox he'd been talking to investigators before the hearing and admitted to planning the bombs. He appeared in court unshackled, dressed in a tan jumpsuit. His family was cheering him on. "We love you, Brian. We're here for you, baby." Cole lived with his mom at her house in Virginia, just 20 miles from Washington. Neighbors knew him as the guy that walked his Chihuahua. Apparently, he'd wear shorts all year round, even in the dead of winter. His grandmother calls him very naive and almost autistic-like, saying he wouldn't hurt a fly. But the FBI says otherwise. Apparently, all evidence points to Cole. Cole's cell phone pinged in the area around the RNC and DNC on January 5th, 2021.
Okay, I'm sorry. There's just things about this that do not make any sense to me. And now here's where I'm going to get into it. And I've got to preface all this with I'm angry. I'm genuinely angry. Okay? And here's why I'm angry. I'm angry that after all these years and all the things that I've been lied to from my government lying to me, things like, if you want your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Things like, hey, Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. We've got to go invade Iraq. to not knowing everything that happened as it relates to 9/11, to all the lies that were told that got us into the first Gulf War in the early 1990s. I mean, on and on. I mean, and you guys have, some of y'all can come up with stuff that I haven't even thought of. But I'm sitting here angry. I'm angry at my government. Why? Because I've been lied to so many times that when you tell me something, and which may be, by the way, totally true, it may be totally true, but now you've lied to me so many times, I'm sitting here trying to pick your story apart and explain why it is you guys are lying to me. You've built into me, you have ingrained into me such a sense of cynicism that when you tell me something, I have to go try to independently confirm it for myself, which maybe I ought to independently confirm it regardless of whether you've been lying to me or not. That would be the intellectually honest and responsible thing to do. But you guys have lied to me so much. The U.S. government has lied to me so much over the years, I don't believe anything they tell me anymore. Well, I mean, Scott, this is what I'm starting to wonder. I'm starting to wonder if the poor kid isn't a patsy of some kind. Now, before you all, oh, here he goes. He's got the wrong fedora on this morning. He ought to be wearing the tin hat fedora. Before you guys start saying that, remember something that was just said by Jesse Waters. One of the pieces of evidence that was used to arrest this Brian Cole Jr. gentleman, this young man, is cell phone data which placed him at the scene on the evening of January the 5th. Okay. Okay, well then how do you explain this? In 2023, Steve D'Antuono, who was assistant director of the FBI field office in D.C. during and after January 6th, testified to the House Judiciary Committee that the cell phone data of the January 6th pipe bomber had been, quote, corrupted by one of the providers. According to Brian Cole Jr.'s arrest affidavit, the FBI used data from his cell phone provider to track him to the vicinity of the RNC and the DNC on the night of January 5th. Seems very unlikely that D'Antuono, who went on to lead the FBI's efforts to round up all the J6 protesters, it seems very likely that he lied to Congress about the cell phone data being corrupted. Okay. Was the cell phone data corrupted or not? If it wasn't corrupted, we got a guy who lied to Congress. He ought to be in jail. He ought not be working for the FBI anymore at a bare minimum. Okay. Yeah, that's something else. Have you guys ever seen the pictures of the pipe bombs? That's the most ridiculous looking thing I've ever seen. It's got an egg timer on it. An egg timer. Yeah. Yeah. Reasons why we don't believe our government. Sandy Hook, Butler, PA, elections everywhere. Yeah, you begin to understand. And by the way, if this is the guy who did it, then how do you explain the following? Do you guys remember seeing this? This was the cover of a story written by Steve Baker and Joseph Hanneman, published on November the 8th, less than 30 days ago. Okay. That in their investigations, they thought that a former Capitol Police officer, Shawnee Ray Kirchhoff, was a forensic match to the long-sought January 6th pipe bomber. Now, by the way, this story is no longer up on the Blaze's website because I was going to read excerpts from it this morning. I couldn't find it. Okay. Now, and I can kind of understand why it was taken down. Threats of lawsuits, threats of everything else. But Glenn Beck doesn't publish something like this unless he's very sure of himself or his people are very sure of themselves. Yet they took it down. Why? And by the way, this lady, this Shawnee Kirkhoff, yeah, I'd heard the same thing too, brother. She's now working for the CIA. Why? I mean, look, did the FBI ignore this? Did the FBI say, screw it, it's not true? Okay. Now, I did find this article published on the 12th of November. Again, from the Blaze. FBI whistleblower pans Bureau for alleged gross misconduct and fraud in early January 6 pipe bomb investigation. Again, by Hanneman and Baker. The Biden FBI is guilty of gross misconduct and or fraud for calling off surveillance of an early morning person of interest in the January 6 pipe bomb case, an FBI whistleblower alleged in a letter to Congress. The letter refers to events that occurred nearly 5 years before Blaze News disclosed that the surveillance subject lived next door to a Capitol police officer who is now a potential forensic match to the gate of the bomb suspect. And that's what Baker and Hanneman were hanging their story on. Somebody had done a forensic analysis of the walking pattern or gait of the person in the surveillance video. And on the basis of that analysis, they came to this conclusion that this Shawnee Kirkhoff, this former Capitol police officer, was the person who planted the pipe bombs. Anyway, now back to the story. After reading the November 10th protected whistleblower disclosure from an FBI supervisory special agent who is still at the Bureau and the November 8th Blaze investigation of the pipe bomb case, Representative Thomas Massey believes the FBI has been engaged in a cover-up or has been grossly incompetent. Quote, either way, Massey told Blaze News in a statement, these latest revelations about the pipe bomb investigation require answers from the new FBI director. The Blaze News investigation said former Capitol Police Officer Shawnee Ray Kirkhoff, 31, appears to be a forensic match to the gait of the pipe bomb suspect. A forensic gait analysis arranged by Blaze News rated Kirkhoff's stride as a 94% match to the individual shown on video planting pipe bombs the night of January 5th, 2021. The gait analysis used a computer algorithm to analyze walking parameters, including flexion, knee bend, hip extension, speed, step length, cadence, and variance. The veteran analyst who ran the study based on visual observations the program can struggle with, he personally pegged the match at closer to 98%. Did the FBI ignore this? Well, there's a good point. Well, apparently, sir, the pimp did not fit. Therefore, they are going to acquit, or at least this lady anyway. Did the FBI ignore all this? Well, we've got a statement here from Kash Patel, and you know what? I'm willing to hear. Let's see what he's got to say. He was appearing on Donald Trump Jr.'s show Triggered on Rumble.
What else do we know about the suspect, Kash? I mean, and there were some other, false reports a few weeks ago identifying someone else. Did those reports have any impact on the timing of this arrest?
Zero. We don't base our reporting, our investigations, and our arrests based on timelines of baseless reporting. We present the evidence with our.
Whoa, wait a minute. Hold on. Why are you saying that the reporting of Hanneman and Steve Baker at the Blaze News, why is it baseless? Why is it baseless? Explain that to me. Don Trump Jr., Kash Patel immediately are calling this story from the Blaze News disinformation. Why? Why are they wrong? Tell me why they're wrong. Anyway, back to the statement.
partners at the Department of Justice for prosecution when we meet the evidentiary threshold that was necessary. And that's what we do here. And I got to remind the audience here, remember, this individual was 25, Don, at the time that he placed the pipe bombs. That's a young person. And we have to go out there and map not just his network, but we also have to go out there on days like today, when we hit the house and we hit his place of work. We have to go out there and carefully make sure that those houses and buildings are safeguarded so that our workers and our bomb techs and our evidence response team can go in there and collect the necessary evidence for the prosecution that the U.S. Attorney's Office needs. So we're developing more and more the suspects in custody. We've spoken to him. Of course, I can't get into the information that's being provided as a result of the search warrant of those conversations. We'll make those present in the judicial process, but we're confident in our ability of executing for the American people.
Okay, so wait a minute. So let me get this straight. Your justification for why you're right and Steve Baker at the Blaze News is wrong is the suspect we arrested was young, and doggone it, we did a lot of work on this. That's your justification? That's your justification as to why you guys are right and Steve Baker at Blaze News is wrong. And for all I know, maybe Steve Baker at Blaze News is wrong. Maybe he's flat wrong about this. But I mean, look, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I followed the career of Steve Baker from Blaze News so thoroughly that I can say, doggone it, he's right, or doggone it, he's wrong. But I can't see a journalist putting out that kind of story like he did with his writing partner on November the 8th. I cannot see them putting out that kind of a story unless they were very sure of the facts, because you know what's going to happen. The moment that story goes out on blazenews.com, the threat of a lawsuit's coming up. They have got to have their I's dotted and their T's crossed. Apparently, they thought they had all that taken care of enough that they put the story out there. But Kash Patel's justification is, doggone it, we did a lot of hard work on this. Therefore, the other guys are wrong. Huh? What? Really? That's your justification? We worked really hard on it. We are right. We're right. Wow. I mean, really? Well, I'm not the only one that has certain problems with this. And I've got a video here. And again, if I'm wrong, you guys know my rule. If I'm wrong, I will come here and tell you I got it wrong. But I'm not convinced yet. I'm just, yeah, instead of the Department of the FBI, it should be the Department of Justice. That's a great way of putting it, Kawan. An absolutely great way of putting it. Oh, Patty, thank you very much. That's very gracious of you, dear. Thank you for the super sticker. I do appreciate it very much. Yeah, really. Well, but did Baker and Hanneman, his writing partner, did they pick it up? I mean, again, maybe they're wrong. Maybe they want to put out a provocative story to smear the FBI. God knows the FBI deserves to be smeared, and more often than not for legitimate reasons. But, you know, anyway, I got a clip here from Viva Fry, and we'll stop this at various points where we need to. He's appearing with Benny Johnson, and he makes some fairly salient points. And like I say, we'll stop this as we need to. But folks, I think it is safe to say we are not the only ones who are suspicious of this whole thing. Okay? We are really not the only suspicious people involved here. So with that, take a listen.
I mean, listen, you know, Mike Benn says there's 39,000 different video angles of this, and that we've received a scintilla of them, maybe like 1% or 2% of the actual video angles of all of this. This is, as you said, the most highly surveilled city arguably on earth is probably around Capitol Hill. There's a camera every foot. And so how much more video evidence they had. They have him getting in and out of his car. You know, allegedly they had a ping for the license plate. This dude's Nissan Sentra, 2017 Nissan Sentra. They have his license plate on Capitol Hill during this time. So his car, or the vehicle belonging to him, is sitting there on Capitol Hill. So clearly it's got to be footage of the guy getting out. Does he have a backpack? Does he have a hoodie on? Does he have a mask on? Does he have his gloves? Like, show us.
Well, but this, you know, going
and before we go any further, that's a great point. Let's stop here for a second. That's an absolutely great point. Benny Johnson's absolutely right. Of all the places on planet Earth where there, not only would you expect there to be, but more to the point, there probably are more cameras, more surveillance, any place else on planet Earth, it's the area in and around the U.S. Capitol building. Okay? And the White House and the Supreme Court and wherever you're talking about the federal government having a presence in the District of Columbia, there's going to be cameras flipping everywhere. Federal cameras, city cameras, whatever. Okay, you have shown us some video footage. Now, how much video footage there is of this person, I don't know. Well, yeah, exactly. Not to mention the National Security Administration. How come we're not seeing I mean, if this is the guy, if this is indeed the guy, how come we don't have video footage of him getting out of his car, wherever it was he parked it? And how come we don't have video footage of him either getting out of the car with the mask and the hoodie on, or putting on the mask and the hoodie? Maybe he drove there looking perfectly normal. Maybe he drove there, and if you happen to see him at a stop sign or a red light or whatever, you never would have given the kid a second thought. How come we don't have video footage out there in the public consumption watching him get out of his car and start walking the length of whatever it was between the car and where he placed the bombs? Where is that? Anyway, let us continue.
Back to the beginning part where you said, you know, the guy lacked confidence. You know, the retort to that would be, if this person knew exactly how to avoid, you know, certain cameras in terms of how they got to where they were and where they started. But
that's what I'm saying. Like, they didn't avoid cameras. Like, an operator could have taken circuitous routes around Capitol Hill to be least, you know, to be the least on camera. But this individual was the most on camera.
Well, except as we say, like, we don't see the person putting on the mask. We don't know how they got to where they are and how they left. So,
but we'll see. They have that. I mean, that's what Mike Benz's contention is, that they do have that. You know,
Benny, I've got 6 cameras around my property, high def. I can skim through any second of the day to see what happened where. Do I believe that they don't know? Do I believe that they could easily identify this individual if he's black? I mean, like, it's like, but black and white, it's the easiest thing to determine. Forget whether or not it's a woman or a man. The person, black or white, we should be able to determine that. Yes. And if someone's going to try to tell me that we can't, based on all of the footage and all of the cameras in DC, call me conspiratorial, call me a pessimist. I'll have great difficulty, you know, believing that. So if it turns out definitively that this person is Cole walking around, all right, then we've got to know who else was involved in radicalizing this kid, if any. We're going to see, you know, what his history was. I presume they're going to get that off of the computer. We're going to see if there were other things on his computer which might stir up other conspiracy theories. There was a Twitter thread where, you know, that they were talking about whether or not this guy had alternative handles on sex websites. We'll find all of this out. But yeah, we're at chapter 1. Maybe we're not at chapter 1. Maybe we're at chapter 5, because we've had a previous 4 chapters that nobody enjoyed reading. We've got to wait for the additional evidence to come out. All I'm saying is, like, you look at this, and we'll see how this kid moves. His neighbors say he doesn't walk like the guy, like the person in the footage. You know, we don't yet know what his weight was at the time of the incident. To me, it doesn't look like the same frame as Hoodie Guy. But we'll see. I mean, they've arrested the person. They're going to gather more information. We have not yet had massive disclosure of the evidence in support of this arrest. The affidavit, sufficient in my view to warrant an arrest. There's a lot of coincidences there. but maybe not sufficient to secure a conviction, and they'll get more information. But this reeks like it was part of a plot involving the former DOJ, the former FBI, and Biden's administration, and they didn't just neglect to look it over. They actively participated in this and could never have it see the light of day. So hopefully that evidence comes out, because otherwise, if it's just a one-off lone nutbag, like in other cases where we've been told to believe the unbelievable, a lot of us are not going to believe it.
And there's the problem. Look, until the FBI and the DOJ make a compelling case to me that this is the guy and here's why, I'm like you. I'm not buying it. I'm just, and again, I'm angry at my government that they've made me feel this way. I just don't believe them. I just don't believe it yet. I mean, I think Viva Fry is right. To look at this kid and to look at the video of the person who's supposedly the pipe bomber, kid's too tall. He's too lanky. I'm not buying it yet. I'm just not buying it. Gypsy, I totally agree. I totally agree. Well, yeah, good point too. Good point too. I'm just not buying this yet. One more clip, and this is from Alex Jones's show. He was interviewing Ivan Ranklin, who's a regular guest on his show. Ivan's a former CIA intelligence officer. And Alex made a really good point about this pipe bomber that nobody is stopping to consider. And with that, here you go.
So if they're saying the evidence is from 6-7 months before the election, that he's now mad when it wasn't even controversy until November leading through, then this guy is the real time traveler from Back to the Future. Like he has the DeLorean. So the real
88.8 miles an hour at some point in time in order to be able to do this.
Okay. So what's going on at the FBI that they would cook up something this ridiculous?
The only thing, if you assume, and at this point, I don't agree with this assumption, but let's assume that Cash and Dan are good faith actors, okay? Let's just make that assumption. Then we have to take a nice picture. We have to take a look at the actual agents that put forth this evidence together and then step that through. But when you ask these questions during the press conference, Cash is the first one to say, oh, that's a great question. You're a great investigative journalist. There's a lot of interest in this particular case, but we're not going to be able to tell you. Trust me, bro. We're going to get to it at some point in time.
Remember what he said on Joe Rogan?
What are
He
you
said,
talking about?
trust me, I'm a good guy. And he said it on Fox All. He goes, listen, there is nobody helping crooks. Listen, I was told by the agents I was briefed. You believe an agency that has a longer nose than Pinocchio?
Yeah. You can't believe the agents. I don't believe anybody until you show me the evidence. Show me the math, right? Here's the answer. Believe me that it's ridiculous.
But let's go.
I had a high school math teacher, and this was particularly true when she was teaching me geometry. It wasn't so much that she wanted to see the answer. How she, in part, if I remember this correctly, how she graded in part was based on how you got the answer. In other words, show me step by step how you got to the answer. You might have the right answer at the bottom, but if you did not build your case correctly, and Kate, in this matter, I'm referring to show me the steps in the mathematics or the geometric proof. If you don't show me the geometric proof of how you got to your final solution, your final answer, she would take off points. That is this is where I'm at with the FBI and the DOJ. Okay, if you're saying this kid is the pipe bomber, show us the proof. Everything. Lay it all out there. Well, we'd love to. We can't do that yet. When are you going to? Well, we'll do it in the courtroom. Oh, really? A courtroom where there's no cameras, a courtroom in a federal courtroom because they don't allow cameras, and we're just going to take your word for it. Not good enough. No, not today, not in this time, not in any time, but especially in this time, not good enough. You better make your case. Because here's the thing, and Viva Fry's got a really good point. If this kid was just some kind of like lone gunman, okay, like a Lee Harvey Oswald or a Thomas Crooks or whoever, okay, and there's nobody else involved, then the American people are going to have even more suspicion of their law enforcement agencies at the federal level, because they're going to look at this and go, hey, you guys cooked up a story. You wanted to get, people off your back for Kash Patel using the FBI jet for this private detail for guarding his girlfriend, yada, yada, yada. Okay? So if this is just a one person who is involved in this and nobody else, and that's your story, no one's going to believe you. Because like I said, they're going to look at you and go, okay, for whatever reason, you came up with this theory. You use this guy as a patsy. He's the 21st century version of Lee Harvey Oswald. He is the patsy. And you're going to scapegoat this kid. He'll spend the rest of his life in jail if you don't go for the death penalty. But at a minimum, he'll spend the rest of his life in jail. He'll become another Sirhan. You'll throw him in some dark cell somewhere. We'll never hear from him again. And, we'll move on to the next controversy, whatever it might be. All I'm saying to the FBI and the DOJ, you better make one amazingly compelling case, because I'm telling you right now, everybody is looking at you with total suspicion. Is to get you to start questioning everything you're being shown. Well, frankly, I think we ought to question it anyway. I really do. I'm sorry. The federal government is not to be trusted. Oh, you're being horribly unpatriotic. Oh, on the contrary. On the contrary, I think I'm being very patriotic to the American people. If nothing else, I'm reflecting 2+ centuries of American skepticism when it comes to governmental power. Let's remember, it was abuse of governmental power that caused the founding fathers to dump the tea into the Boston Harbor. We've always had a suspicion of governmental power. I'm just carrying on a fine old American tradition, at least in my book anyway. All right, so that's where we're at so far with this January 6th pipe bomber arrest. And like I say, more will come out. We'll talk about it. But right now, I'm not buying it. I'm telling you, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying the story that the kid did it. My response to the federal government and to the DOJ, make your case, and it better be good. It better be good. It really better be good. It better be airtight and solid. Question with boldness even the existence of God, because if there be one, he must more approve of the homage of reason than that of blindfolded fear. Ooh, that's a great quote. That is such a great quote. Yeah, that's a great point, Robert. Stop thinking about what Robert Lowry's saying here for a second. Okay. You got a report that came out in Blaze Media less than 30 days ago, less than 30 days before the arrest, saying that, hey, we think we've got an analysis here that gives us a pretty good idea of who this was. They even go so far as to name the name of a person. Now, I have not read the whole article, so I don't really know how they came to the conclusion that it was this one. But on the basis of the analysis they did, they said, hey, we think it's this person. Okay. Kash Patel is getting all kinds of grief for various reasons. The improper use of the FBI jet to take him all over the country to see the girlfriend, a supposed security detail of FBI agents for the girlfriend of the director of the FBI, which is not permissible. You've got all the grief that he's taking, from all kinds of people on the political right. And then all of a sudden, here comes the arrest of the January 6th pipe bomber. Okay. I mean, we'll see. We will see. I just color me skeptical. Yeah, I even forgot to mention that one, Kawan. You're absolutely right. There was an Inspector General's report that called the FBI a rudderless ship, that there's no leadership at the FBI, that Kash Patel's not providing. I'd forgotten about that. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, all this stuff is piling up on Kash Patel and subsequently Dan Bongino because it all rolls downhill. And then all of a sudden, they've got the pipe bomber in custody. Oh, you're being awfully conspiratorial. Make your case. Let's hear it. Let's see why you think this is the kid. And all I'm going to say is it better be a good one. So anyway, all right. Let us move on to a slightly different topic, if we may. And there's something that came out just Friday, as a matter of fact, and it's causing all kinds of waves all over Washington, D.C. So we'll get into it here momentarily. But let me do a real quick commercial. My name is Brian Trippett, and if you found this live stream is called Front Porch Brunch. I am known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative. And if you like what you're hearing so far, you like the memes, you like the comments, you like the audience interaction, be it on Rumble or on YouTube or Twitter, wherever you're watching us right now, why don't you do me a favor? Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Again, you can subscribe to me on Rumble. You can also subscribe on YouTube. Just go under the Front Porch Conservative and you'll find me there. Subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Let's make sure you're always aware when new stuff is coming out. Also, while you're at it, go ahead on today's live stream on YouTube and on Rumble, hit the thumbs up button and leave a comment in chat. It really does help push the algorithm as far as getting this out there for other people. If you're having fun and enjoying yourself, help us out a little bit because we are a going little concern, and who knows, maybe someday we become a going big concern. So we can do that with your help. All right, let us move to a different compartment of the train, as it were, and get into something. And I hadn't necessarily planned on getting into foreign policy stuff today, but some came out yesterday, and this document is literally scaring Europe to death. Look, the Europeans have a lot of reason to be worried, and most of that worry they have brought on themselves. But the U.S. just did something yesterday that is absolutely sending shockwaves through Paris, London, Berlin, and other European capitals. And we'll get to it momentarily. I think it was WWG1 who sent me this meme. And it was so apropos, I wanted to use it as the intro to this discussion. And it goes a little something like this. Now I apologize for the prophylactics that you see listed in this picture, but I saw this and I started laughing because I thought it was so daggone funny. And It says, "Dear Ukraine, thank you for letting us use you. We had a great time. Love, NATO." Like I said, I a little bit crude, but then again, wholly appropriate for the discussion that we are about to have. And by the way, TBA, if you want me to drop this one in chat, I'll do it. I'll gladly do it. Just let me know. But yeah, this is kind of, the White House put out a document the other day. Oh no, actually, I take that back. I guess it was prepared at the tail end of last month and released officially yesterday. And if you haven't seen it yet, it's called National Security Strategy of the United States of America. Ooh, very interesting title. Very interesting title indeed. And it sort of begs the question, what's this thing all about? Well, we have a letter signed by the president. And he explains what this is about, and I'll go straight to the last paragraph. What follows is a national security strategy to describe and build upon the extraordinary strides that we have made. This document is a roadmap to ensure that America remains the greatest and most successful nation in human history and the home of freedom on earth. In the years ahead, we will continue to develop every dimension of our national strength, and we will make America safer, richer, freer, greater, and more powerful than ever before. Signed, President Donald J. Trump, the White House, November 2025. Okay. Well, now hold that thought, TBA, because you're not too far away from that very thing, and I'll tell you why. So I'm going to go ahead right now, and I'm going to drop this in chat on both sides, okay? I'm going to drop it on Rumble, and I'm going to drop it on YouTube. And, you're free to take a look at this if you want. The document, it's not that big by government document standards. It's like a 33-page report. Matter of fact, I'll probably wind up reading the thing this weekend if time allows me to do it, because I am really intrigued. I'm intrigued as to why it is that a 33-page document is causing such heartburn among our European allies. Okay. So I dropped the link on both sides. And, like I said, check it out at your convenience if you wish. But I want to read you somebody's analysis without necessarily reading the whole document. And this is written by a gentleman on Twitter called the Islander, or his handle is at Islander World. And apparently, talks about geopolitics, that sort of thing. And the analysis of that document that we just looked at a minute ago is really fascinating. So here we go. The White House just published what Brussels has spent a decade censoring. And what he's reading from are from parts of the report. Europe has shrunk from 25% of global gross domestic product down to 14%, is drifting toward civilizational erasure. That is a phrase directly from the report. And on its current course, quote, will be unrecognizable in 20 years. That's not Russian intelligence, not dissident analysts. Those statements come from Washington, D.C. in its own national strategy, marking the time of death. Europe's tragedy is not that it was defeated by an external force. Its tragedy is that it volunteered for collapse, mistaking moral vanity for strategy, self-harm for principle, and neocon applause for sovereignty. 19 rounds of sanctions meant to cripple Russia instead detonated inside Europe's chest cavity. Industries are fleeing, energy has been gutted, borders are unmoored, farmers are revolting, wages are eroding, dissident criminalized under values crafted by technocrats who never worked a real job, with utter contempt for Europeans. And while Europe recites slogans, Russia built substance, built an economic juggernaut. The, quote, gas station with nukes they mocked is now the fourth largest economy on Earth by PPP, expanding faster than the entire European Union since the SMO began reindustrializing, reorienting, and rewiring Eurasia. The target of Europe's crusade grew stronger. The crusaders grew poorer. This wasn't irony. This was inevitability. Now comes the most brutal line in the U.S. strategy, the warning that some European ally states, quote, may not be strong enough to remain reliable allies. This is Washington stepping back from a burning house with the calm of an arsonist writing the incident report. Hang on one second, please. The very patron that pushed Europe toward confrontation long before Trump is now drafting its alibi, framing Europe's collapse as an unfortunate accident rather than the predictable consequence of policies its deep state encouraged and Brussels enforced with missionary zeal. The EU won't recognize the downloading of humiliation because it arrived disguised as loyalty and because the script being used to abandon the continent is the same script Europe still insists on performing. See how much further we've got on this thing. Yeah, we're almost done. A continent once birthed Western civilization now prosecutes its citizens for speech, crushes its own farmers under riot shields, torches its industries with green dogma, and markets the whole spectacle as enlightenment. It surrendered its energy to ideology, its industry to Davos hallucinations, its security to American whims, and its future to compounded interest. A civilization cannot live on abstractions, but its elites can, because they've engineered a system where the costs fall on the people and the graph floats upward toward those who never bear the consequences. The national security strategy isn't a strategy, it's a confession in plain sight. Russia absorbed the blow, recalibrated, and rose. Europe dissolved into the very illusions it mistook for strength, while Washington, already preparing the next chapter, quietly wipes its hands of the consequence. Continental Europe once held 25% of global GDP. Today, it clings to 14%, nearly half of its global weight erased in a single generation. Not by invasion, not by Putin, by decisions its own elites made freely. Europe was no prisoner. It was not dragged into this. It chose ideology over energy security, fantasy over industry, obedience over sovereignty. It had the power to act like a civilization and acted like a petulant, arrogant vassal. They swore Russia would disappear, yet she stands rooted, sovereign, expanding the Eurasian pole they insisted could never exist. Its economy rises into the top 4 while Europe implodes. Its industrial base grows while Europe corrodes. And it is Europe that dims, censored, exhausted, directionless, governed by elites who call obedience maturity and dependency enlightenment. A continent whose central to the world history now drifts unrecognizable even by the ally that encouraged its self-destruction and now drafts the alibi from afar. The EU tried to erase Russia. In reality, Europe erased itself, and Washington just wrote the obituary. Woo! Woo! That's some pretty tough stuff. Like I say, a 33-page document coming from wherever, you wouldn't think a governmental document of that size would have that much influence. But I'm telling you, folks, Europe is absolutely running scared. Here's an excerpt from that document, the National Security Strategy. The White House's new National Security Strategy states that, quote, NATO cannot be an alliance in perpetual expansion, and that it's in the U.S. national interest to negotiate a rapid cessation of hostilities in Ukraine to prevent escalation and restore strategic stability with Russia. Honestly, statements like these are something Moscow could hardly have imagined hearing, even in its best dreams. And here's a little bit of an excerpt. Our broad policy, listen to this, our broad policy for Europe should prioritize reestablishing conditions of stability within Europe and strategic stability within Russia. enabling Europe to stand on its own feet and operate as a group of aligned sovereign nations, including by taking primary responsibility of its own defense without being dominated by an adversarial power, cultivating resistance to Europe's current trajectory within European nations, opening European markets to goods. It's one of those phrases that I want to focus on. Maybe running scared is not the way I should have phrased it. But that document, I think, is going to be looked back upon. And again, all this depends upon follow through. Okay. But that document might go down in history as being the formal announcement of America's withdrawal from the NATO alliance. I have said, for my part, this is just me speaking for me. I've said for years, the smartest thing America could ever do, militarily, economically, and on so many levels, is withdraw from the NATO alliance. If Europe wants to keep NATO alive, do it. Now, for those of you who don't know the history of NATO, it basically gets down to this. Post-World War II, in the face of a threat from the Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact, America, Great Britain, France, and a handful of other countries in the North Atlantic formed the NATO alliance, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Its mission was to stand as a bulwark against Soviet expansion. Well, the late 80s, early 1990s comes along, the Soviet Union dissolves, and the Warsaw Pact falls apart. But NATO remained. And we kept it going. Well, now it's to the point where NATO, and we've talked about this ad nauseum on this live stream, where NATO keeps pushing further and further east. The Russians keep saying, no, you promised us you'd never do this. And now the linchpin or the hinge is Ukraine. Because if Ukraine winds up putting NATO weaponry, which you can make an argument they've already done, but if they wind up formally putting NATO weaponry inside Ukraine and Ukraine becomes part of NATO, there's nothing left. There is nothing left for the Russians to do. They're going to be surrounded on all sides by NATO weaponry and NATO nations. Well, the U.S., under Donald Trump, is looking at this going, it's time to get out. This document may be the beginning of that very thing. Now, I've got an article here. Now, this is back from October from the Associated Press. The U.S. draws down troops on NATO's eastern flank as Europe frets about a security vacuum. Article written by Lauren Cook and Stephen McGrath. We got the following. The U.S. confirmed this, and this is from back in October. It was 29th October. The U.S. confirmed on Wednesday it will reduce its troop presence on NATO's borders within Ukraine, but shed no light on any future cuts as allies worry about a security gap being created at a time when Russia is increasingly confrontational. The news first came from Romania, where defense minister said the decision reflects Washington's shift toward the Indo-Pacific region. However, Inaut Monstano said Allied troop numbers would remain above the number before Russia's full-scale invasion of neighboring Ukraine in 2022. The U.S. armed forces later confirmed the move, but denied it was a sign of lessened commitment to NATO. Analysts said it might tempt Russia to test its military alliance. Depending on operations and exercises, around 80 to 100,000 U.S. troops are usually present on European soil. Wow, I did not realize it was that much. NATO allies have expressed concern that the Trump administration might dramatically cut their numbers and leave the security vacuum as European countries confront an increasingly aggressive Russia. Can I say something here? Well, of course I can say it. It's my live stream. It's about high time the Europeans see to their own defense. seriously. I mean, look, has anybody stopped to consider the following? Has anybody stopped to consider that it's real easy for England, France, and Germany to have massive social benefit to their citizens when those countries don't have to pay for their own defense? Has anybody stopped to consider the relationship, the ratioed relationship between the granting of social benefits through the government by European countries versus the amount of money they have to spend on their own defense? When you got Big Daddy America paying for the defense of England, France, Germany, and a boatload of other European countries, it is real easy for them to spend their money on anything else. I think, look, we could sit and argue the whole day long about whether or not Europe should have, what they should or should have done, or what America should or should have done over the past 50, 60 years. That's fair. But there's no doubt at all that we are paying overwhelmingly for the defense of Europe. Frankly, if we were to withdraw from NATO, which frankly I think we ought to do anyway, it would finally force the Europeans, number one, to actually start having to spend for their own defense. And number two, it would actually force them to maybe find a way to get along with people they think are their enemy, aka Russia. Because if you don't have the Americans backing you up with money and weaponry and manpower, then you might have to learn how to play nice in the sandbox. Wouldn't that be a refreshing change, as opposed to Keir Starmer, Emmanuel Macron, and Friedrich Merz of England, France, and Germany, respectively, trying to find new and interesting ways to get their countries into a war with Russia, which would be the dumbest thing they ever did. They don't have the troops, the manpower, the money for that kind of conflict. So my hope, I mean, for what it's worth, and again, that document is no better than toilet paper until we actually see some concrete results come out of it. But if that's the direction Trump wants to take America, in other words, get away from Europe, let Europe stand for its own defense, and we start prioritizing other things, like maybe taking care of our own things at home, and the Europeans actually have to deal with it, hallelujah. So we'll see. We'll see. Now, that's true. That is true, WWG1. Totally true. Yeah, and this is a great point. Absolutely great point. Totally great point. Yeah, socialism is a wonderful system till you run out of somebody else's money to spend. Oh, ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Yep, totally, totally. Oh, goodness me. Yeah, I thought I'd bring that one to your attention. You might want to. Oh, by the way, before we totally get off this topic, and this is kind of related to what we've been talking about. Did you guys hear about? Did you guys hear about the phone call that took place between leaders of European nations and I guess Zelensky and the European Union? I got a story here from Zero Hedge, and I'm going to drop this one in the chat and let you guys read it on your own time. Yeah, okay, it's on the Rumble side, and it's now on the YouTube side. Like I said, I don't know if you guys have read this yet or not. Whoa, wait a minute. What the heck? Here we go. Quote, "We must protect Vladimir. Leaked call shows European leaders conspiring against the Trump peace plan." Article by Tyler Durden of Zero Hedge. We got the following. In a development that is not entirely surprising, European leaders are claiming that Washington is looking to, quote, betray Ukraine and President Zelensky during potential formal peace negotiations with Russia. Quote, there is the possibility the United States will abandon Ukraine on territorial questions without providing clarity on security guarantees, French President Emmanuel Macron reportedly said, according to a, quote, leaked phone call with other European leaders. Likely, this was an intentional leak and a bit of strong signaling to the Trump administration, as Europe has not been on board with the U.S. president's proposed peace plan from the start. Quote, there is a possibility that the U.S. will betray Ukraine on the issue of territory without clarity on security guarantees, Macron continued. He laid out his view that there are, quote, a great danger for Zelensky. However, Macron's office has subsequently sought to clarify the president did not use those words. The leaked transcript of the call between European leaders strategizing about how to protect the Zelensky government and Kiev's interests was published Thursday by the German magazine Der Spiegel. Also reportedly on the line was German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, Finnish President Alexander Stubb, and of course Zelensky as well. Merz said in the dialogue, agreed with Zelensky should be extremely careful in the coming days and warned the Ukrainian leader that, quote, they are playing games with you and with us. Oh my gosh. Oh, really? Calling him fascinating? Interesting. Interesting indeed. Yeah, this is what it gets down to. They don't want the money to stop. Could you imagine what would happen to Europe if we actually did it? If we pulled the trigger and withdrew from the NATO alliance? In other words, we say, okay, 4 years hence, we are going to withdraw from NATO. Oh, no, not 4 years. 3 years hence, we're going to withdraw from NATO. We're going to pull our troops back to American soil. We are going to pull down our money. We're going to give you guys 3 years to get your act together, and then you're responsible for what happens next. NATO, we're out. NATO is all yours. You want to keep it going, but you'll do it without us. Talk about some radical change in Europe. You know, that's a great point, TBA. That's an absolutely great point. How much money would we be putting back in our own pockets if we weren't being thieved by our own government to pay for somebody else? That is an absolutely great point. So yeah. Like I say, take a read of that document, because I'm telling you right now, oh my gosh, that's going to get real interesting indeed. Okay. It's 20 minutes after 12. So we're going to start trying to get through those. For those of you who are really heavily involved in following vaccine related news, and not just COVID vaccine, I mean just vaccine news in general. A couple of pieces of news came out toward the end of the week that probably ought to encourage your heart. One of them comes directly from the CDC, and the other one comes from Trump himself. Now, I thought you guys might want to hear about this if you had not heard about it yet. Here's a headline from CNN. CDC advisors vote in support of major change to childhood vaccination. I thought this one was going to get your attention. Yeah, for those of you who maybe haven't seen this yet, this is from a couple of days ago. Vaccine advisors to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention voted to abandon universal hepatitis B vaccinations for newborns, instead recommending individual decision-making in consultation with a healthcare provider for mothers who test negative for the virus. The American Academy of Pediatrics said it continues to, quote, recommend routine Hep B vaccination for all newborns, and many experts expressed dismay at today's decision. Members of the committee were handpicked by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a longtime anti-vaccine activist, after he abruptly fired the 17 sitting members this year. Yes, my dear, he is absolutely all over this. Yeah, I know, shocking. We get to think for ourselves. What a novel concept. We actually get to make a decision, or parents who have newborns get to make the decision, hey, do you want to have your child vaccinated for Hep B? I think it's great. I'm all for this. Oh, you're just an anti-vaxxer. No. Hold on a minute. I'm not necessarily anti-vaccine. I think vaccines are useful. I'm just not so sure that all these vaccines we're putting into kids are necessary. And I'll freely admit, I know enough about the science behind it to be able to make that opinion authoritatively? No, not necessarily. But it strikes me as odd. It really I mean, look, I'm old enough, and probably some of you guys out there are as well. When the vaccines that I got growing up were for measles, mumps, rubella, and polio, I think. Okay. That's it. That's all I got growing up. Now we've got, how many different vaccines are currently being injected into babies or young toddlers after they're born? Look, I'm going to trust Robert Kennedy on this one. I really am. I really am going to trust him on this one. Really? 72 vaccines are on the schedule by the age of 12. Holy cow. That's just, let's see, what is that? 6 vaccines a year? What's that? If you break that down, what is that? 6 different vaccines a year to be injected into your child. Wow. Wow. So you used to work at NICU, literally gave it right out of the womb to every baby. Holy cow. Holy cow. My goodness. Goodness me. That is, jeez. That is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Wow. Yeah, well, you may be right, brother. But anyway, there's that piece of news that going forward, Centers for Disease Control, they have abandoned universal hepatitis B vaccinations for newborns. And again, I think it's great. Should the decision not be left up to the parents and their doctor talking to each other as opposed to an automatic, hey, your child gets the vaccine no matter what? What if the parents have what they feel are legitimate reasons not for this child to be vaccinated? I hope you're right, dear. I really hope you're right. I so hope you're right. And that wasn't the only piece of news. Here's one for you. And this one might make y'all shout for joy. President Donald Trump begins the process to align U.S. core childhood vaccination recommendations with best practices from peer and developed nations. This is from the White House's own website. This came out on Friday. Today, President Donald J. Trump signed a presidential memorandum to begin the process to align U.S. core childhood vaccine recommendations with best practices from peer-developed countries. The memorandum directs the Secretary of Health and Human Services and Acting Director for the Centers for Disease Control to review best practices from peer-developed countries for core childhood vaccination recommendations, vaccines recommended for all children, and the scientific evidence that informs those best practices. If the HHS Secretary and the CDC Director determine that those best practices are superior to current domestic recommendations, they are directed to update the U.S. childhood core vaccine schedule to align with such scientific evidence and best practice from peer-developed countries while preserving access to vaccines currently available to Americans. Very interesting. So, yeah. It looks like, ladies and gentlemen, we may be on our way to totally revamping the vaccination schedule for kids in America. Hang on one second. If parents are Hep B free, the child doesn't need it. Hospital staff should be vaccinated because they need protection. All right, that's all right. That I would understand. That makes sense to me. That makes complete sense. Japan doesn't vaccinate before the age of 2, or perhaps it's 3. Interesting. They never get a vaccine to a child under the age of 2. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, this is why. I mean, look, I'll just say this. I do not know what's going to happen politically in the next 2, 4, or 6 years. In my ideal world, okay, in my ideal world, we get a leader similar in their thinking to Trump. Not completely, but when I say similar in their thinking, I mean populist, conservative. It could be a Democrat, it could be a Republican. I don't care in one sense, okay? Because frankly, the Republican Party is useless, and the Democrats are just, frankly, they're just not even Democrats anymore. They're just communists, okay? What I would love to see happen is for Robert Kennedy to be renominated as Secretary of Health and Human Services in the next administration, and let him keep on doing the work that he's doing. That, I mean, if all things being equal, I would love to see that happen. I really would. Because I mean, I am not going to lie. I'm a little bit worried, like Gypsy, you know, if you get a Democrat president, and what stops them from undoing everything that Robert Kennedy's doing? Good point. Hopefully the things they're putting into place are going to be there for a good long time. So we'll see. Well, possible as well. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, I came across those pieces of news. I thought you guys might want to hear about them. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Moving on. We've got a couple or 3 more things to get into before we wrap it up for the day. Got to come back and talk a little about Venezuela. I said the other day, I think it was on Tuesday, I said, would somebody please explain to me why it is we're getting ready to go into Venezuela? Or what are we doing down there? Because I've heard every conceivable story as to why it is we need to go into Venezuela, and none of them yet make sense to me. Or, I mean, I've heard everything from drugs. I've heard drugs. I've heard Maduro's not a nice guy. I've heard oil. Will somebody please explain to me why we're doing this? Please, somebody. I mean, there are rumors flying around everywhere. I mean, here's one that I heard the other day. Check this out. Maduro to be exiled to Qatar. Multiple credible reports now say the Trump administration are actively discussing a negotiated transition that would see Nicolas Maduro step down and relocate to Qatar. This is the kind of plan being floated only when regime is reaching the edge of the cliff. This is nuts. And I said, would somebody please explain to me why we're doing all this? Anybody? I mean, this is absolutely straight crazy. So the other day, they try to do it. The Trump administration tries to give a justification as to why it is we're messing around in Venezuela. And I don't know that they're helping themselves here. Let me find something real fast. Give me 1 second, folks. Hang on. I thought I had this pulled up and ready to go. Apparently, I did not. So give me 1 second. 1 second, please. Just about got it. Okay, here it is, I think. All right. Yeah, here's one. So Marco Rubio does an interview with Sean Hannity, right? And the love of God. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. So Hannity, who frankly is probably the biggest CIA stooge I've ever seen, asked some questions of Rubio. Check this out.
Yeah, similar questions. Do you think, especially with the drought issue that Iran is dealing with, and Maduro basically pretty much being told by the president to get out, are we possibly on the verge of looking at regime change in both countries?
Well, look, at the end of the day, we're Maduro, and his problem basically is that this is a guy, if you wanted to make a deal with him, I don't know how you do. He's broken every deal he's ever made. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. If you can work out a way that, you can bring stability to the hemisphere, you can make Venezuela help be a country that isn't the base for Iranian influence against and activities against the United States. You could have a Venezuela that didn't traffic in.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Now it's not about drugs. Now it's not about Maduro being a nice guy. Now it's about Iranian influence in the Western Hemisphere. Basically, the Iranians are using Venezuela as a base to disrupt things. Really? Really? This is what we're coming back with. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Anyway, let's continue. So let me back that up a second just to make sure you guys heard it right. And here we go.
With him, I don't know how you do. He's broken every deal he's ever made. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. If you can work out a way that, you can bring stability to the hemisphere, you can make Venezuela help be a country that isn't the base for Iranian influence against and activities against the United States. You could have a Venezuela that didn't traffic in drugs and didn't send people to our country like Trinidad gang members and the like. That would be great. The problem is Maduro has made 5 deals with different parties over the last 10 years and has broken every single one of them. The Biden administration made a deal with Maduro. No one talks about this. He made a deal with Maduro. Here was the deal. Maduro asked that his nephews, convicted drug traffickers, be released from U.S. prisons. He asked that his chief money launderer, his money man, his bag man, be released from U.S. custody before he stood trial. In exchange, he promised to hold free and fair elections. He got the nephews back, the drug dealers. He got the bag man back, and he never did the free and
He
fair
stole the
elections.
elections.
They stole the elections. They suckered Joe Biden. They're not going to sucker Donald Trump. And so that's really the fundamental problem we have here. I think the president is a unique figure in modern American history. He's prepared to sit down and meet and talk to anybody. Okay. He just met the other day with the president of Syria, who has, an interesting past, to say the least, in terms of his past activities. He's willing to meet with Putin. He's willing to meet with Xi. He's willing to meet with Kim Jong-un like he did in the first term. He's willing to meet with anybody. But at the end of the day, there has to be somebody that you can actually make a deal with. We've made a deal with the Chinese, but Maduro's never kept a deal. That doesn't mean the president won't try. It doesn't mean we shouldn't try.
Okay, so Maduro can't be trusted. Maduro won't keep his word. We can't get a deal with him. The Iranians are using Venezuela as a base out of which to do things in the Western Hemisphere. Just what I really wish, and I said this Tuesday night, and I need for somebody to get this to Trump. Come make the case to the American people. Do an address from the Oval Office. Explain why it is, in your opinion, we need to do some kind of, if we're going to do this, and apparently we are, if we're going to do this, either by military or by negotiation, explain to the American people why it is we are trying to do a regime change in Venezuela. Explain this. And like I said the other night, you owe it to the American people. After Iraq in 2003, after everything the American people have sacrificed for the past 20 years, using the whole, hey, trust us, we're from the federal government, we're here to help you, that line ain't going to cut it. Yeah, well, it's not just the fact that it's a weak argument. It's just all these arguments are all over the place. There's every conceivable kind of argument. Here's one for you, and this goes to some things you guys are dropping in the chat right now. This got published in the Dallas Express. Former Maduro spy chief's letter to Trump seeks to expose narco-terrorist war against U.S. This was written on December the 3rd, so this is like 3 days ago. Robert Barnes has been saying this for the longest time. So maybe there's something to it. But anyway, getting back to this article. Written by, who wrote this? Okay, so unsigned article. The Dallas Express has obtained an explosive letter addressed to President Donald Trump from Hugo Carvajal Barrias, the former director of military intelligence for Venezuela and once one of the most powerful figures inside the governments of Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro. The letter, shared exclusively with Dallas Express by Carvajal's attorney, Robert Fetal, a former senior Justice Department prosecutor, marks the first time the retired Major General has put these warnings on the record since pleading guilty earlier this year in U.S. federal narco-terrorist cases. Carvajal, extradited from Spain after a lengthy international manhunt, says he is writing to atone and to alert Americans to what he describes as a coordinated, directed campaign targeting the United States. The former Venezuelan intelligence chief, Hugo Caravel, once a top Chavez and Maduro insider, pleaded guilty in U.S. federal court in June and now warns that Venezuela is a narco-terrorist organization intentionally targeting the United States. Carvajal alleges the Maduro regime weaponized cocaine, collaborated with FARC, ELN, Cuban intelligence, and Hezbollah, and exported violent criminal networks, including Tren de Agua, into the United States. He asserts Venezuela and Cuban intelligence infiltrated U.S. institutions for 2 decades, including military installations. He claims Smartmatic was developed inside Venezuela as an election manipulation tool, later deployed abroad. Carvajal says he supports Trump's Venezuela policies and stands ready to provide further details to federal authorities. Okay, make your case. Don't give me newspaper articles. Give me the case. Make the case. Give me the evidence. I don't know, man. I just feel like we're not being told everything. One more clip related to this subject. Patrick Byrne was being interviewed by Alex Jones the other day, and I'll play you parts of this. Here's what he's got to say.
We set this all up as a weapon. Smartmatic is all rigged. I know. I installed the head of IT. We built it. This is him saying this. It's all rigged. Your elections have been rigged. Blah, blah, blah. It's only a 2.5-page letter. You really put up on your site. And third, he says something very remarkable. I'm surprised. I'm only going to mention it because it's in this letter, which higher authorities okayed could be made public. There's a piece of very sensitive information in there that I'm surprised they've decided to make public. I'll put it this way. When General Flynn was briefed on this, so General Flynn, as I've said, he stayed out. We didn't bring him in any of the illegal stuff or whatever we were doing before the election. But since the election, he's kind of emerged as, I kind of think of him as my handler these days, or for us, it's kind of, it's like playing sandlot basketball and having Michael Jordan show up to be your coach. It's great. So when we have this information, we can bypass all the three-letter agencies who hate me now anyway, and get it to Flynn, and he knows the right people for it to go to. It bypasses all the bullshit. He turned white when he heard this information, and the information that came from this Venezuelan general in the prison is that in 2015, we invited the Russians in. Their undersea cables. I ask Darius to put up, Daria, I sent you some maps. There are these maps of undersea cables of Latin America. You can see that the undersea cables, which carry all the telecoms, come up the coast and they touch each country. They touch Venezuela. In that port, on that island, they brought the Russians in and they tapped in since 2015. That means the Russians have been in our military since 2015 worldwide. My understanding is once they've broken in one place, they get access to the whole network. It's like its own internet. And the Russians have been had 100% access to all our comms since 2015. And so that was when General Flynn heard that, I'm told he went white and said, I can't even put this in the report.
By the way, that's what William Binney.
Like I say, folks, like I say, somebody better be making a really good case as to why we're doing all this. We'll see. We'll see. All right. HodgePodge stew. Those stories that are flying kind of under the radar, but definitely need to be talked about. We'll kind of go through this fairly quick. Oh, no. What happened? Where did you go? Hang on. There was one more. Hold on, folks. Wanted to start off with something here. Yeah, hang on. Thought I had this one pulled up already. Well, I did, but I accidentally. Don't know if you guys saw this or not. Come on, where are you at? Hang on, folks. Sorry about this. Accidentally. There it is. Here it is. For those of you who follow Supreme Court matters, you're going to get a kick out of this one. Watch this.
Joan. Supreme Court just this minute, Brianna, announced it's going to take up challenged President Trump's order lifting birthright citizenship. You might remember on January 20th, his first day in office, he took his Sharpie pen and he said, this is a big one. And what he did was he tried to eliminate the automatic birthright citizenship that all Americans have had for more than a century. And what that does, it goes to the 14th Amendment of the Constitution that says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. That means that anyone who's born here, Brianna, automatically becomes a U.S. citizen. And what Donald Trump's executive order tried to do was say anyone who was born of someone who was not here lawfully or who was here on some sort of temporary status, that person's baby would not automatically be a citizen. It's a very, it's probably of all the Trump actions that have been taken to date.
Yeah, the Supreme Court has agreed to take up the case. Trump signed the executive order banning birthright citizenship. It was immediately challenged in court, and it's now made its way. Supreme Court's going to put it on the docket. So this gets real interesting real quick. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find one moment. Here it is. I'm trying to see if I've got a written article here. One moment. Here we go. No, I thought I did. But yeah, Supreme Court's agreed to hear it. So yeah, we're going to get a decision from the court on whether or not birthright citizenship is going to be abolished in this country or not. So you're saying that the SCOTUS sides with Trump, eliminates it. Interesting. 14th Amendment only applied to the children of slaves in post-Civil War crimes. I would think the same thing. I mean, if we're going by a question of strict construction then and historical context, then yeah, that would make perfect sense to me. That would make perfect sense. But like I said, this is going to get real spicy real quick. So, all right, what else do we have in the way of HodgePodge do? Oh, by the way, got a little Epstein news for you guys. I have not seen the contents of this yet, but for those of you who follow the Epstein saga, and saga is probably the right word to use for it, this was on, was it Friday? No, it was Friday. A federal judge has just unsealed the Epstein grand jury files in South Florida. Transcripts are now authorized to be made public. The judge cited the passage of the Epstein Files Transparency Act and Trump's signature for allowing the materials to be released. Yeah, so maybe in the near future, we're going to be able to see some of what was in that grand jury testimony in the South Florida cases against Jeffrey Epstein. Interesting indeed. Interesting indeed. Okay, one more thing. And you know what? We'll save that for Tuesday. Save that for Tuesday. All right. A palate cleanser as we get ready to go out the door. For all you folks out there, and I include myself in this, by the way, who use technology, sometimes you need to be very careful with how you do it, because you know what? It might not work out quite the way you planned. And with that in mind, I hope you guys enjoy this.
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take
we're trying to. Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I can see that. I think if you click the up arrow next to this, Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to
Yeah, folks, be very careful about that technology. You never know what kind of trouble it's going to get you into. All right, let's go ahead and bring it in for a landing, or bring it into the station. I want to thank you guys for being here for Front Porch Brunch. This has been a load of fun this morning. I've had a blast doing it. Hope you guys found this useful and educational. And hey, oh, you want that link? You want that one? All right, hang on a minute. Well, I tell you, I've had requests today. One moment, please. All right, there it is on the Rumble side, and here it is on the YouTube side. There you go. All right. I want to thank you guys so much for being here. This has been a load of fun, especially after all the troubles I had Thursday. We're going to be back this coming Tuesday with some more news and hanging out together. So thanks for being here. Hey, there is some college football on today. It's Championship Saturday for those of you who enjoy that sort of thing. A lot of good games lined up. I highly recommend that you take some time and check out your TV. And who was it that said, let's see, hang on. Thank you very much, Lana. I genuinely do appreciate it, my dear. I really do. But yeah, take some time, watch some football with your family members and friends, and otherwise have yourself a great weekend. And we'll see you guys Tuesday night at 7:00. And as we depart, Merry Christmas to all of you, and remember the words of that great American philosopher Tom T. Hall when he said, "It is faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." Love you guys very much. Have a great weekend, and Merry Christmas.